Alright. Everybody ready? The title of my speech is called Maintaining the Gun Culture. The United States is the only modern industrial urban nation that persists in maintaining a gun culture. So says Richard Hofstadter and America as a gun culture. To this I ask, who maintains the gun culture? My name is Matthew Adam Jeffers and my background is as a gunsmith. I served in the Marines as an armorer and now have the same job in the National Guard. I hold 2 nationally accredited gunsmithing diplomas and I've handled firearms almost my entire life. Having stated that, it is my purpose today to share with you some facts about gunsmithing. First, I'll talk to you about the definition of gunsmithing and the legacy of the Second Amendment. And then we'll go over how a gunsmith does business. And lastly, we'll talk about the gunsmith's creed. So what is a gunsmith? And how did that profession come about? Can you move those lights for me? A gunsmith is defined broadly by Webster's as one whose occupation is the designing, making, repairing, and maintaining of firearms. A smith is a type of specialized craftsman that works with his hands. And smith derives from the word smite, which means to hit or strike, which alludes to metal forging and old swordsmithing. Now, firearms were introduced to the rest of the world by Europeans. There is evidence of firearms existing in Europe as early as 1326. However, modern firearms, that is to say guns with rifled barrels, weren't introduced until the 1450s to the 1480s. Now, early gunsmiths were limited only by their tools, primitive when compared to today's machining practices. Still, the influence of firearms from the old world invariably had an effect on the new. The modern American gunsmith is indebted to his forefathers. Following the Revolutionary War, the United States Constitution was adopted on September 17, 1787. It enumerates and details our liberties and freedoms as human beings. One of those freedoms is our ability to own firearms, and this was spelled out by the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, the original intent and purpose of the Second Amendment was to preserve and guarantee, not grant, the pre-existing right of individuals to keep and bear arms. Effectively, our forefathers recognized that we have the right and the ability to arm ourselves and defend our lives, our loved ones, and our society. Recognition and celebration of this inalienable right has brought forth our flourishing gun culture and the career of gunsmithing in America. So, how does a gunsmith do business? The gunsmith draws his business from the American gun culture. He welcomes and enjoys the company of hunters, homeowners, veterans, police officers, and Olympians. A gunsmith is accountable to these people for their safety and trust. A gunsmith does everything he can to help improve the marksmanship and handling of their guns. This is because, at heart, a gunsmith is a fellow sportsman, not a businessman. Most gunsmiths start out as hobbyists. I did. They take pleasure in the intricacies of firearms, from accuracy to trigger play, from iron sights to laser sights, and from floating barrels to ivory pistol grips. Each detail is fascinating and requires attention. However, a professional gunsmith is well versed not only in the nomenclature of parts, but also local, state, and federal laws, licensing procedures, seasonal permits, and safety security practices. The gunsmith's tools range from hammers and screwdrivers to punches and pliers, lathes and mills, to assorted chemicals and paints. However, his most important tools are patience and attention to detail. His shop must always be clean, he must look, speak, and act professionally, and his weapons must always be maintained. His prices must be fair, his knowledge must be ever growing, because if he allows his interest to stagnate, so will his business. Word of mouth can make or break a shop. Customers care about their weapons, and the gunsmith should care just as much as they do. The only successful gunsmiths I have ever met have made it a point to go out of their way for the customer. If he does not, that customer will not return. A gunsmith does business by treating every weapon as if it were his own. The gunsmith's creed. This leads into the gunsmith's creed. What is the gunsmith's creed? The gunsmith's creed expounds upon the ethics and reasoning behind this profession. An abbreviated version of the gunsmith's creed reads as follows. I will never knowingly sell ammunition or firearms to a person who is emotionally upset or disturbed, nor will I repair a gun for such person. I will never attempt a gun repair or modification that is beyond my capabilities. I will never release a gun without thoroughly checking that gun for safety. I will never make up or recommend maximum hand loads for any gun I haven't personally worked up. I will do everything in my power to inspire a healthy interest in the shooting sports. When selling guns and related products, I will observe a square deal policy, and that means placing my customers' needs and safety above any personal profit motivation. I will faithfully observe and obey all laws and ordinances pertaining to guns and related merchandise. In the field, I will be a sportsman in word and deed, observing all game laws and regulations and avoiding shots that cripple rather than kill instantly. I will work closely with young people whenever possible, guiding them with the principles of safe gun handling and true sportsmanship, realizing that the future of firearms rests with the youth of today. This creed is the golden standard for the profession and must never ever be breached. In review, today I have covered the definition of gunsmithing and the legacy of the Second Amendment, how a gunsmith does business, and lastly, I covered the gunsmith's creed. Hopefully you can now better understand how a gunsmith maintains the gun culture. In conclusion, the sweat, blood, and tears of my predecessors have paved the way for my success. I can only reward them and my customers with quality. The burdens are many, the hours are long, but the gunsmith's role in his society is not just to maintain its guns, but to maintain that society.